Hi, everyone!
How's it going?
Welcome back to Gentlemen for Cinephiles. Evelyn and I are here. We're finally, I keep saying this every couple months. I'm like, we're going to move to video content for the people who watch on YouTube because it's kind of weird to just have a blank screen the entire time. And now Evelyn and I are here full glam. I mean, this is just a normal quarantine look for Evelyn and I. Just kidding. So how are you, Evelyn?
I actually, this is the first day in, a couple weeks that I actually put on makeup, and I didn't realize we were recording. It was just a matter of, I need to, actually, remind myself that I can put effort into my appearance because I'm starting to feel like crap. So,
I mean, honestly,
self-care,
that's excellent. Yeah, 100%. You gotta keep up with yourself during quarantine, you know what I mean? You can't just let everything go. Let your look crumble. I don't know, I'm going through a lot.
I was trying to come up with a Fallout quote that doesn't actually exist. The video game Fallout, but that's a nice segue, actually.
It's a good segue. How did you know I was gonna plug this, Evelyn?
Because I also have stuff I want to plug, so...
So we're gonna plug at the beginning of this episode.
We're
and then
so
we're gonna
productive during this quarantine.
The future of DC. Honestly, this quarantine has been all I've wanted. Because, Evelyn and I were moving on to the next phase of our life. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we have our casual episode next. But, yeah, so Rob Bowen, he is a fellow filmmaker of mine and Evelyn's. And he was actually on the podcast a couple times. He was on the podcast for Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad episode. He just had a film release earlier this week on Monday, and it was called The Wastelander. And he actually originally named it Fallout, which is why we use that to segue. And then Fallout came out with the game, and that was back when he first, was trying to make the film. So he was like, damn it, I need to change it. And then all this stuff, Evelyn's...
I have a visual aid for my upcoming plug. Don't worry about it.
I love that. I'm leaving that in. I hope you know that.
That's the danger of me, live casting from my room, is I have so many, toys and props. I could just...
I mean, I love them, though. That TikTok, though, where she's it's this woman in all pink. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. There's this woman in all pink, and she's on TikTok, and she, I love that. Sorry, Evelyn brought out a pair of nunchucks and distracted me.
This podcast is going off to a great start. So there's this woman on
TikTok. It's going great. She's in all pink, and, all of her aesthetic is pink, her room is pink, and she goes, oh yeah, I started collecting clothes, and it went like this, and then she has this huge Hello Kitty plushie just, yelling at her, and is like, cause all you ever do is text other bitches! It was so good. And I'm getting that vibe from the Hello Kitty in the back. That's really struggling.
That is Hello Kitty. A Christmas Hello Kitty.
But, anyway... Back to the plug. Oh, Rob Bowen's film Wastelander came out. It's on a film anthology series that I run, and it is actually called Transmission Presents on YouTube. I still need to change the name, but if you look that up on YouTube, you can find his film. But yeah, that's my plug. Evelyn, your plug.
Speaking of video content, I just put up, it's an episode of Movies After Midnight that's been on the podcast feed for a little while, but I put up my review of The Shadow from 1994. In which I mention these cards that I'm I don't know where they are, so that's my segue. Yeah.
Did you find them?
They're cool.
I mean, duh, you found them. Where'd you find them? That's what the
they
question
were
I meant
in a box somewhere, everything. But yeah, so I have also begun the switch to attempt to bring more video content to this dog and pony show or whatever.
So we're calling quarantine this dog and pony show.
Also, yeah.
I mean, yeah, honestly, I've been trying to do the same. It's interesting because I asked for all this time and I got it, and I just wish I was talking to my friend Elise. I was like, I wish it didn't
also
this cost,
I just happened to have with me this copy of Street Fighter the movie on DVD. And, that's a weird coincidence because I just put up an Eevee Override video on Street Fighter the movie. So, I mean, that's a thing you could check out. Maybe.
Evelyn, you're the CEO of plugging yourself. This is my favorite. Yes, so go. You have a lot of content to consume after this
is a
episode.
French DVD,
you know, we're just looking out for
a
you.
French Canadian DVD.
Who is that? That looks like John Cena on the front, like dead
He
ass.
wishes.
Like John, did you hear that? I know you're out there listening. Jean-Claude Van Damme. And I just want to say for the people visually watching, I have a McDonald's iced coffee, but that's because I DoorDash a McDonald's iced coffee every morning, okay?
I love that energy.
I'm social distancing. Thank you. I'm social distancing. I can't get my Starbucks. I'm so fucking sad. I'm just kidding. So let's go ahead and hop into today's topic. Today's topic is the future of DC. We've talked a lot about DC this month, and, you know, I'm going to kind of be referencing some other episodes in the past, you know, because Steph had a lot of insight, and Rob had a lot of insight as to where DC might or might not go, so I want to, like, bring that in, but something that was really interesting that I want to kick off the conversation with was something that, Rob initially brought it up as, like, a thought experiment, because we got into the conversation of, what is DC going to do, because they've kind of just, like, stopped and started, and then they restart a lot, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And, you know, Rob and I kind of opened the door for, like, the whole idea of, well, is DC trying to do multiverse now, or, like, what? But then Stefan and I kind of had a further discussion about this, and if going that direction of multiverse, and, you know, the working definition that we've been using of multiverse is, like, the kind of the traditional one, so there's, like, different iterations of Batman. Yeah. Take a look at, like, something like, what was that? Oh my god, what was the Spider-Man movie?
I was going to say Far From... Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse, yeah, Into the Spider-Verse. Looking at Into the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Man thing. That was the Spider-Man musical.
The Spider-Man movie, Turn Off the Dark. That's hilarious. But yeah, so look at Into the Spider-Verse and how they have all those different types of Spider-Man. However, the approach DC seems to be taking is making those individual movies of those different types without, you know, establishing it really strongly. But I don't know. So that seems to be where DC's going. I'm not 100% sure or not. But what do you think, Evelyn? Is that, like, an approach that can even be done in film, or is that something better left? Like, what do you think? Thoughts?
I definitely think that seems to be what they're doing. Also, I think I mentioned how, like, they even literally did a multiverse thing because they had the Flash series, which is, like, that universe is completely separate from the films, but then they had Ezra Miller show up and meet the TV Flash, and they're both like, "Oh, you're Barry Allen too. That's so cool. Your outfit looks so breathable." That was not a line, but like, so they're they're actually confused. Doing that. So yeah, it seems like. But I think the big thing that I see with or that I've heard people talking about with DC's future is whatever one's opinion on Joker was, it was a big thing because it showed you could do a comic book movie that was on a much smaller scale and wasn't about the kind of it wasn't the big epic type of comic book movie we've gotten used to. It was a smaller scale, lower budget kind of personal film. And I think because...
Well, and also, you know, you could do those kind of movies, too, without it being, like, feeding into a franchise, I guess.
And I think, but because I think Joker did financially very well and found a big audience doing a film like that, I think DC is going to try to start... I see them kind of moving towards those kind of, like, self-contained films that may or may not tie together at some point, but... as far as they're making them, it seems like I see them probably focusing more on the films as individual films.
Yeah, because even, like, I talked about this a lot this month, but, like, you know, I still kind of struggle with, like, movie rights and things like that, and knowing, like, you know, sorry, my eye is itching, knowing, like, you know, what does and doesn't connect, because, like, I mean, if you look at the Nolan Batmans, they're setting up for something, but then it goes to Affleck Batman, and then you have Robert Pattinson Batman, and so it's kind of, it's very confusing, because, like, I would also, like, I feel like I have an advantage and a privilege in that I'm not an average movie watcher, while I have average comic book knowledge, I'm not an average movie watcher, but I'm still very confused as somebody who pays close attention. So it's very interesting. So further than if we think DC is or isn't going to approach it, do you think that approach is something that's feasible? If it's something that, because I'm never quite sure if multiverse is a thing. Rob and I talked about this. I don't know if it should be DC or what, but I want a franchise to have the same creators all the way through a franchise. Because I think they have this creative team,
you mean like
plan
Zack
it out and
Snyder?
establish it. No. No. I want a strong core creative team that carries through the entire
You mean
time.
like Zack Snyder?
Zack Snyder, I don't think he has a lot of creative control, if I'm being completely honest. Because I feel like they'd be consistently more like Batman vs. Superman or something like that if it was all Zack Snyder led. And I honestly think if it was just Zack Snyder led, it might make more sense. I may not like it that much, but I think maybe it would make more sense. I don't know.
Definitely see that.
What do you think about because what do you think about the probability of doing something like multiverse and not immediately turning it off to a bigger audience? Because, it'd be good for fans of the comic books to get super into, but would it have widespread appeal? I don't know.
I think the nice thing about the multiverse approach is that everything can be both connected and not connected at the same time, so it's a pretty straight it kind of opens things up because you can do a bunch of stuff without having to worry about this continuity, and yet it's still in continuity because there's this multiverse and things are connected whatever happens. So I think in some ways it almost kind of frees them up to experiment a lot more. So I definitely think it's feasible in that
and I think
regard.
Well, that's good. Yeah, because I think in a lot of ways too, if they go dive headfirst into this multiverse approach and they really embrace it and really do well at it, they can even use it as an excuse for their past mistakes and be like, well, it was the Dude Bro universe.
Yeah. Well, also, and I think that's another thing is it's an approach that allows them to kind of bring things back from the past that outside of their context, which was another thing they've already again done on TV, because with a recent Flash crossover, they brought back the actor who played the Flash in the 1992 TV series, and they brought back the guy that played Superman on Smallville, and so it seems like in the TV world, it seems like they've already experimented with some of these approaches. We're talking about maybe making their way into the film side of things.
That brings up another question for me, and I brought this question up to Rob, and I don't think I've ever brought it up to you yet, Evelyn. And I'm just saying, when I ask this question, I'm very sorry, I've taken an interview position. I'm like, Evelyn, I'm asking you questions. But okay, so I don't consume a lot of TV. It takes a lot for me to consume TV, right? And even then, it's generally speaking super short, bites. I can count all the TV shows I've seen. I've seen Dollhouse, which oh my god, so good. I've seen The Golden Girls. I've seen Fosse Verdon, and that's the extent pretty much of my TV knowledge, aside from little bits here and there. But it's really interesting in this new world of streaming because, I'm going to bring up another TV show here in a second, but when I looked at something like Sherlock when I was a kid and was watching that was when I started to see that I didn't enjoy TV as much, because I liked the format Sherlock had, because it was movie length episodes. A lot less episodes per season, but it still told a whole story as if it was overarching, right? But I would consider that TV, but TV has kind of this negative connotation for people think TV means Big Bang Theory or something like that. But I don't quite understand sometimes at a certain point what's the point of making a movie franchise when you can just do TV in streaming format, because that seems like something that's so much more,
Yeah.
I guess, like, hot in the moment, I guess. But it also seems so much better in terms of storytelling, because it feels like it would be easier to consume for an audience, and it would be easier for an audience to, like, connect to, and it would be easier for an audience to follow along with. But that's from my perspective, because I have a limited opinion on, I have, like, a limited experience with TV.
Yeah.
I don't have experience with the DC TV shows. But what do you think about that? Like, why do you think being a movie franchises is so important to comic book, like,
Yeah, well,
companies?
I think a lot of it is, like, I mean, I think some of it is just money. I think you make more money releasing a big theatrical thing, but I also think, like,
that makes a lot
I think
of sense,
from a
actually.
storytelling perspective, there's a level of spectacle I think you get from a cinematic release that you don't get from a TV release, at least not usually.
Yeah.
Like, there are exceptions to that. But, like, I think, and talking about superhero films, that was kind of illustrated in, I think it was the Winter Soldier Captain America. They had this event, and it happened, and it directly affected things that were going on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. And it was really weird, because in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they showed, like, a couple scenes from Winter Soldier to, like, establish that continuity. It was like a short bit of, like, Sam Jackson, like, in the city, but, like,
Gotcha.
it, like, or they had Thor show up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but because it was a TV budget, he, like, never got around to actually using any of his superpowers, and he just kind of stood around. And, like, I think that kind of illustrates that, like...
That's so cute.
Like, but,
That's
like,
a
I think it
vibe.
kind of illustrates the difference between... There's a certain grandeur and spectacle you can get with film, and I think with superheroes, at least, that's something that's important to a lot of people, is establishing this really special thing. Because I think that's another. I think when you use it right, it can be a benefit of television as a format. It's almost more benign, like, because a movie on some levels, even if you watch a movie every night, it's a special occasion that you're, like, going in for 1 hour to absorb this story and, like, fully go into it for that, like, hour and a half or whatever. Whereas television, it's kind of a continuous thing that just sort of it's just kind of a part of your life that's kind of continually ongoing. And so, like, you process that differently.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, though. I'm not sure if, like, because when I'm looking at, like, the storylines, particularly DC is trying to develop, with multiverse, with all these things. Like, I mean, just look at Batman vs. Superman and Flash showing up and all that. Like, it feels like that not should or shouldn't, I don't know. I can't make bold claims like that. But, like, it feels like that would be much better received in, like, a TV show format, So I get, like, the whole movies being a special experience, but, like, with certain elements of the storytelling, I don't quite understand. But also that brings up the question is TV headed to this place and this is, like, a hypothetical question we can talk about, but, like, is TV headed to this place in which DC and, like, in general, like, they bring that movie specialness to TV? Like, is it ever possible to kind of, like, merge that? Like, can we ever get Thor on the full budget?
We'll
like, you know what I mean? Because that's always a question.
We'll see where the theater industry is in a couple months.
Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, jeez.
But, yeah, I mean, in the streaming era, we're definitely seeing some overlap, because I think, like,
yeah, because when I look at Fosse Verdon, like, it had a film specialness to it. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like, okay,
yeah, and also, yeah,
okay, now it's,
and that's looking at a lot of the Netflix series I've watched. Like, it's interesting. We're seeing a resurgence of, like, serial type stuff, where, like, instead of it's like, these self-contained episodes, we're getting what's basically a, like, 6-hour movie stretched across, like, however many episodes. And I think that kind of narrative story, that narrative structure is kind of a sign that, we're definitely we're moving towards some kind of synthesis, and, like, I don't know how that will turn out. But, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it might benefit DC, honestly, to, like, maybe put more energy into that type of format than, like,
Yeah.
you know, maybe DC's place in film is to make these, like, really nice, beautiful, condensed, like, slices of life like they did with Joker, like they did for Harley Quinn, Emancipation of Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
To use the full title. And, or, like they did for, like, you know what I mean? Like they did for Wonder Woman, like they're doing in Wonder Woman 1980. It doesn't feel like they're connected. Because even Marvel, you know, where Marvel's at now, where I think, like, it's not as strong as it was previously, I still think Marvel feels really connected from movie to movie to movie. And I think DC is missing that because, like Stefan was saying in his episode, they're really rushing a lot and feels like they want to play catch up. And I think maybe if focusing the multiverse storytelling on film and then maybe focusing like the really integrated storytelling playing with everything, maybe in TV might be an option. But then again, you know, I'm not an insider at DC.
I think some of that just boils down to what's a good artistic decision versus what's a business decision. Everyone's like, hey, we could do this and it might make us a bunch of money.
Which, like, yeah, your point on movies is that makes a lot of sense, actually, why superheroes want to do a bunch of movies.
Yeah, because Marvel did it, and Marvel made a bunch of money, so now everybody wants to make a bunch of money. Also, rip that, the Valiant Comics universe. They just, there was a, there's, in the 90s, there were a few different kind of third-party comics publishers that kind of sprung out of people that, like, left Marvel and DC. And one of those was Valiant Comics, who established their own universe and their own continuity, and there's a whole story behind that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Are they like the, really quick question, are they like the DC characters?
No, they're like some of the writers and, like, artists and, like, Image Comics.
Oh, so they're different characters unique
Image
to
Comics
the
is a similar thing, although they did a lot of comics that were like, these are the DC and Marvel characters we wanted to write just with the serial numbers filed off. But, like, you know, they're making Walking Dead now, it's fine. But Valiant Comics had kind of some up and downs, and recently they signed a deal with Sony to start working on this Valiant cinematic universe, the first of which is this Bloodshot movie starring Vin Diesel.
Sellouts!
Starring Vin Diesel, and that came out, like, I think the start of this month, and it is not... A, it wasn't well received anyway. B, it came out at maybe the worst possible time you could be coming out as a movie. So, like, I think, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because Emma, Invisible Man, and The Hunt got so lucky, honestly, under the companies they were at, because I think they were all under the same company, so they were like, oh, we'll just release all of them at home. But, like, for any film that wasn't that, I'm like, fuck. Because it also sucked really bad. I'm going to segue here. Or I guess I'm going to get off topic here a little bit. But that really sucks, and we'll talk about that more for Vin Diesel's career in a minute. But... it sucks because a bunch of movies were about to release after already being pushed back. Like, there were at least 3 films I can think of that were being pushed back. Got pushed back to here. Yeah. No Time to Die got pushed back, but that one with the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy, that little girl, you know, the beautiful 90s genre of buff man raises a child.
Oh, My Spy.
Yeah, that one got pushed back. There's another one that I'm completely forgetting, but yeah, a bunch of... yeah, the one, it has that Billie Eilish song.
No Time to Die?
Saint Maud or something, and it's about... No. No, the trailer has All the Good Girls Go to Hell. It's called Saint Maud. Saint Maud,
you like how I've moved to a Dutch angle on my webcam because it's sitting on my lap?
You're like, we're talking... Well, it's because we've shifted into the uncertain waters, and so, like, the I can't do that joke as good as you, Evelyn.
You're getting there, I think.
You own that joke. You own that joke, honestly. Evelyn has this joke where she just goes into cinematic explanations of normal events, and it's really good.
I haven't pulled that out in a while. Gotta dust that hat off.
You haven't, yeah. If you don't use something, you lose it.
It's because I haven't been taking film classes in a couple years now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Oh my god, you should have seen how cute it was. Robert and Fernando on Robert von Dasanowski and Fernando Feliamoji on Microsoft Teams for our 60s class.
I can only imagine.
That was really interesting. It was a kooky time. It was a wild time.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it just really sucks that, like, not only it sucks in terms of the film industry as a whole, but in particular for movies, a lot of the movies that were coming out got pushed back already, and now they have to get pushed back again, and it's like, fuck, and I can't imagine, that must suck so bad. But yeah, Invisible Man and The Hunt and all that stuff, they got so lucky, and you can watch them at home.
Yeah, my initial...
Go into that
my
a little
initial
bit
point
more.
with that was basically, I think the Valiant universe was an example of... and actually what happened was they had a web series called Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe that was very low budget. It felt kind of like a 90s action TV series. But, like, I think...
James Bond Jr.
Like, it was a live action series, but in terms of, like, enjoyability and comics accuracy, a lot of people, including me, really liked it. But then the people up top at Valiant were like, yeah, we're going to can anything that could come out of this because we want to get our cinematic universe going and we don't want to waste time on web series. And yeah, and
that's awkward.
It's kind of an example of that, like what DC's trying to do, where they're trying to get in on that like cinematic universe thing when maybe that's not what's best for them. And actually Invisible Man ties into that as well, because that was Universal. They made what was it? They made Dracula Origins, which was going to start the Dark Universe.
and everyone was like, what the fuck is this?
And so they're like, actually, that's not the start of the Dark Universe. This Mummy movie is the start of the Dark Universe. And everyone's, And
everyone was like...
And it happened again, and they're like, you know what? We're just going to subcontract Blumhouse to, like, do all of this. So here's the Invisible Man.
Which... The Invisible Man, it was what I have a question about it then. Which I don't know the answer, and I don't know if you know the answer, but it was the last movie I got to see in theaters the day before all the theaters closed. But
it was Invisible. How'd you see it?
Is it? I hate you so. That's it. Okay, thank you all for coming to the episode. That's all. Okay, we're gonna go. But was that filmed in? After the fact, after that decision was made, or was that filmed as a part of the Dark Universe thing?
I think it's kind of an example of the, like, Joker approach, where they realize that a hard and fast, like, cinematic universe where every movie ties into the next episode, basically, wasn't working for them, so they needed to start with something more ground level that worked on its own. And...
yeah, because honestly, Invisible Man was excellent. If you guys, like, have the money to go do the stream at home, home premiere thing, like, go watch it. It was really good.
If only there's a way to see movies without
I completely
paying for
forgot. Evelyn.
That's going to bite me in the...
How are we going to get brand deals ever if we just promote illegal getting movies? Yeah, I made you illegally watch a lot of the DC movies, Evelyn, but we're not going to talk about that right now on air, are we?
At least 2 of them on Netflix.
Was this a Snyder cut on Netflix?
It was not. No, that's a weird thing.
I was about to say,
for some reason they
Netflix.
have Batman Begins and The Dark Knight on Netflix, but not The Dark Knight Rises.
Why not?
Yeah.
You would think that was like a package.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
also,
awkward. I mean, I kind of want all the movies to tie in, because, I mean, I do want to see, like, Joaquin Phoenix and, like, Margot Robbie holding hands.
My brother and I were talking about that, like, imagining, like, his Joker in the context of, like, all the DC, like, Ben Affleck's Batman, like, fighting him.
Have you seen Birds of Prey yet, Evelyn?
Is it?
Okay, do you care about... I mean, this is a very minor spoiler.
I probably won't be surprised by it.
This is, like, pretty much not even a spoiler. Well, it's not, like, really a narrative device. There's this, like, thing that carries through where, like, she gets super drunk all the time because she's getting over her breakup. And, she gets super drunk one night, and the next morning she's like, oh my god, I'm gonna go get this egg sandwich, yes! And so she goes to this place to get this egg sandwich, and then, like... she gets this cop comes after her, and then everybody starts chasing her because everybody finds out that day that like her and Joker have broken up, so she's not protected anymore. And so they all start coming after her while she's trying to eat this fucking egg sandwich. And at the last minute, it hits the floor, and she's like. And I just want like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker to deal with that energy.
Well, that was like a thing with I keep like preaching in tongues about the Marvel Netflix series because they're like maybe the
is that like every night when you lay down to pray to God you like start speaking in tongues about the DC cinematic universe.
Not only are we canceled, we're going to hell now too.
I mean, if you want to pray to God about the DCs, that's your business. It's not mine.
But like I think like in my opinion, the Marvel Netflix series, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist are like some of the best superhero media to have like come out in recent years. And I think it's because they took that TV series ground level approach, but made it like they used it to tell stories that they couldn't tell on film because they took these characters in a lot more like kind of crime drama film noir directions. And that was really cool. But at the same time, you've got Daredevil doing this really film noir thing, like getting the crap beaten out of him and bleeding out of his mouth and stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, this is the same universe where the Guardians of the Galaxy are, like, listening to dad music and, like, making puns about Pac-Man. Like, if you just got, like, a time-lapse of, like, what the Guardians of the Galaxy are doing right now while Daredevil's just getting the living life punched out of him.
That needs like a TikTok meme where it's like the cat, like the little cat, and then like the.
It's like that whatever the French music is. But
I mean, that's a really good point. But yeah, it's interesting too, because like that reminds me of like that like semiosis to me too, like what I really want them to do with Robert Pattinson's Batman, and that is I want him to have the Willem Dafoe Lighthouse pirate voice as his Batman voice. He said he would. I'm just kidding. But I really want them to dive into the detective elements of Batman, because that's something that I think has been missing, and that's something I think Stefan was the one who brought that up, and I was like, oh fuck, that's right, he is supposed to be the world's greatest detective. Yeah. And like no one's acknowledged also, that.
Superman's supposed to like have like
verse.
Tons of alien science knowledge, but we just kind of forgot about that since like the 50s too.
He's just kind of like grumpy.
There's like a soup like
God, it sucks being
there's
such
an
a good
alternate
guy.
Universe Superman comic that's like considered one of the like best Superman comics out there, where he like finds out he has like super cancer basically. And so he's like, what am I going to do on my last few days to live? And he, like, cures regular cancer and, like...
How you explained that.
Cures regular cancer. He ends world hunger. He does all this, like, crazy stuff because he's Superman and he can do anything when he's, like... Comic books are great.
I have a lot of questions, though. Finish telling me about this.
I don't know. That's basically it.
Why did he do this before?
Like I guess he like didn't have the insight he needed, I guess.
I thought you were gonna say didn't have the energy, and I was like, you know, who could blame the kid? Am I right? I'm just kidding. Yeah, you know, it's like,
yeah. But yeah, I think this multiverse approach, like I think definitely leads to that weird juxtaposition of energy we were talking about, but at the same time I think that could with Pattinson's Batman, all we have to go on right now are set photos, but it looks like they're taking a more grounded approach, but like it's weird because it seems like they're being more grounded but more comic booky at the same time.
And I like that because I think like when you look at where DC's going, the films that have really hit the mark are I think Wonder Woman and Emancipation of Harley Quinn, and I know you haven't seen Emancipation of Harley Quinn yet, but Emancipation of Harley Quinn, it hits this beautiful middle ground of being super comic book. What?
For some reason, I was like, what's the F emancipation? Why can't it be a womancipation? I'll just.
Yeah, okay, bye guys, we're over. Thank you all for coming. No, second time, double ending. Yeah, it hit this beautiful middle point of like being super, what I would imagine like comic booky, and like I've been using the word camp, but like I think camp is a little bit like it brings a negative connotation, but I mean it positively. It has this very nice campy feel, but it's able to also be really horrific and realistic and gritty in that same space, and it's able to balance both of those really well. And so if they go that direction with Robert Pattinson's Batman, not only will it be the first time in DC that I think a man character will work, a man character.
Aquaman was a solid
but
okay.
I think it'll also be... I didn't see Aquaman. Okay, sorry Aquaman if you're out there listening under the water. That's bad. I'll show myself out. But yeah, I think if they go that direction, it would be a really solid choice for the franchise, and I think it would bring me back on board. Because right now, the only thing that's holding me on is like Harley Quinn and I almost said Harley Quinn and Margot Robbie. Harley Quinn and Wonder Woman. Thanks, Erynn. Yeah, that's what's holding me on right now. But yeah, so. Yeah. Any other thoughts, Evelyn?
Yeah, no, that's. Also,
Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
We don't hate you.
Yeah.
We're just disappointed. Just kidding. Your style, I just don't vibe with your stuff. It's okay. I mean, it's all good.
You don't understand Superman. That's okay. Not everyone does.
I mean, I obviously just don't get it. I don't get what it's like to be a dude in today's world, Yeah,
I also, DC has always, had a much stronger TV presence also, because on a whim today I started noodling with it's DC Universe is their streaming service, and yes, I did say noodling, and I forgot about they have Titans going and Doom Patrol, and they had Swamp Thing, and that didn't work out, but they have this very strong TV arm of things that seems to have worked out much better than their film arm of things, which is interesting to observe. But, I think that kind of underlines everything we've been saying this episode.
Yeah, 100%. And so, yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. And I think, it's interesting how superhero movies in particular also bring up the bigger question. Because another question, we've talked about a lot on the podcast in general, that I know will just be more of a conversation in the future is, what's the place of... Because streaming isn't traditional TV, but it's also not traditional film. So it's this weird middle space, and it'll be interesting to see what place that still serves in the world today. I mean, a big time we had that conversation was when Spielberg was trying to get Netflix, or Spielberg was one of the outspoken people about it. He was trying to be more outspoken about Netflix films not counting as Oscar worthy because they are TV movies. When, you look at something like The Irishman by Martin Scorsese, which is a Netflix film, and it's definitely not a TV movie, So, I think streaming is in this place where it's trying to figure out what it is, but it's exacerbated by what kind of stories are you able to tell on streaming that you can't tell in traditional TV and you can't tell in film,
Although, we've also hit an interesting point where I've noticed there are a lot of their, streaming-only series, but they still release on, a weekly basis to try and emulate that,
Oh, okay.
Because I know The Mandalorian did that. There's a few Shudder series that have done that. And,
Oh, really? I thought all of them just released at once.
That's the normal way, but, I've noticed more streaming series have been doing that drip feed thing, and I feel like it's to try and, somehow, emulate the experience of standard TV watching. And so that's, that whole conversation, I think that's an interesting, aspect, or... But
yeah. 100%. Well, do you have any other thoughts about DC and the future of DC?
It feels like they're slowly... They've made a lot of missteps, but I feel like they've actually, started finally learning from those missteps. because they're definitely
I
definitely
agree.
trying different things, and I think in a post because I really don't know if it's even possible for Marvel to follow up the Endgame thing, because that was something they were building up pretty much since they started. And I think in a post Marvel Infinity War Endgame film world, I think that opens up a lot of opportunity for DC to really capitalize on the fact that they're not Marvel, when there are a bunch of people who are like, okay, I've had my Marvel fill, I'm looking for something different.
Yeah, and it could be because I don't think people are tired of superheroes. I think people are I don't want to say people are tired of Marvel. I don't think people are tired of Marvel. I think people want a new
they're tired of a certain
with which
style,
to view superheroes.
And
I think Marvel could switch up that style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Marvel
which
isn't always
could be
that style,
compared to the way that spy and Western movies adapted their style over time, which I wrote about in an issue of Scorpia magazine. I didn't even intend to plug that, and you just gave it to me.
Who would have thought Evelyn would become the Brandy monster? Just
I'm making up for all those times you're like, what have you been doing? And I'm like, nothing. And you're like, you idiot, you've made 3 things this week.
This is like that guy from Ant-Man, you know, who would have thought? Who would have thought we'd ever be?
I think you referred to Paul Rudd as that guy from Ant-Man.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Paul Rudd. I
refer to him
feel
as
like I
that
need to
guy
talk
from
to you right
Halloween
now.
6.
Paul, look. I don't mean to hurt your feelings at all. You do a great job, but I just don't get it. Ant-Man seems like I don't get the appeal of Ant-Man.
He's
I don't
a nice,
understand
wholesome
it.
guy.
That's my issue.
That's the appeal of Ant-Man.
He's a wholesome guy who can get really big or really small. Yeah. I'm like, okay. That's my issue, Paul, if you're out there. I'm trying to find this balance of you know what I mean? Because I don't want to turn my podcast into me just shitting on everything I hate about the movie business and then rolling up to LA
Yeah, that's I complain about Zack Snyder, but that's because the idealistic differences I have with Zack Snyder mean we would probably never want to collaborate. So I feel okay being yeah, I have these massive differences. But yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's fair. Yeah, I had an awkward time on my YouTube channel because it was the video that came out on Monday, and it was the video that came out on Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm getting really confused. It was a video that came out on Wednesday, and I covered I did a Let's Go to the Movie episode, but just at my house because I did Redbox instead of going to the theater because that's not a thing you can do right now. And I watched Black Christmas, A Quiet Place, and A Hidden Life, and Black Christmas was terrible, and I hated it because I was like, God damn it, I don't want to talk about how terrible this movie is because I want, you know what I mean? As a filmmaker, I know how hard it is to make a movie. I know how important it is to make a movie. I know how pivotal it is for you to have your movie, and I hate being I don't like it. You know what I mean? And so,
people obviously there are exceptions, but I think people respect fairness. Because I think a lot of times when people are I'm gonna criticize media online, they do it because they want to be snarky and clever, ripping stuff apart. And so when you're someone who's able to point in and be yeah, this thing has X flaws, but also I understand what they were trying for, I think creators do respect that. Because I had my Eevee Override Rendell movie review. When I first watched it, I was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff I want to rip apart in this movie. But then I watched it, and I'm like, I see what they were going for, and they actually did some things really well. And I pointed out the good and the bad, and I actually got a comment from the director on my video being like, oh, I love this review.
Oh yeah.
So
oh my God, yeah, because it's you feel you're the same way. I want to be in the movie business, and I mean I'm not trying to it's not I need to kiss ass to get into the movie business. It's I don't want to be disrespectful to fellow artists who put a lot of time and effort
and I
into
think that's
things.
As long as you're fair, as long as you're not saying this sucked and was really dumb, you're saying, I saw this and it didn't
cut to our Batman vs Superman episode. I'm just kidding. Yeah. I'm sorry, Zach. Zach, I hope you didn't hurt your feelings.
As long as you're Yeah.
I went on Twitter and I saw he was doing like a live stream of like Batman vs Superman yesterday.
That.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was like, oh god.
But yeah, I think as long as you're critiquing from a like positive place, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I always try and be constructive.
That's the word.
You know? Constructive and balanced, you know? But I mean, like, you know, I'm also not above criticism.
Yeah, no.
Check out my video on YouTube in which I watch my film Kingpin. Hey! I don't know who disliked it, though. I'd be curious who... I need Detective Batman to figure it out.
I think I disliked it as a joke, but then I went back and liked it later once you saw.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know... But thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for watching, Evelyn and I. We love you, DC. We want you to do good.
I've been like super into Batman lately. I want DC to succeed.
Yeah, right. Batman is such... I literally have a Christopher Nolan tattoo, and I didn't even fully wrap my brain around it. Like, I decided I was going to get it as a kid. I forgot about it, and then I still got it as an adult. But, yeah, anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Evelyn and I are going to come on for the next 2 episodes. We're going to kind of just do, like, a chill session, because some of you have been, like, interested about Evelyn and I as creators and people. But we wanted a little bit more of a casual episode for the next 2, so we're going to be kind of talking about films you can watch in quarantine, all that stuff, what we've been doing in quarantine, what our lives are like, and, you know, It'll be great. Anyway, Evelyn, where can they find you?
At Evie Override on YouTube, EVIEOVERRIDE, all one word. On YouTube, Instagram, Facebook,
don't forget Cineborg.
I haven't done anything related to Cineborg in like maybe a year. EV Override is also on TikTok, I guess. And I think that's all the major.
She's finally plugging the TikTok. That means she's making more videos.
I have 3 videos right now.
They're really good. Go watch them. So I'm on TikTok and Instagram every day at _Renaissance Woman. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Erynn. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. We will see you guys next time. Bye.